and all these other things later on, that would upset me also. If it was things that I knew about before I bought the property and then I was like, signed it off and said, I'm okay with this,
What
I
if
can
you
get it
didn't
fixed
know?
myself. That's what I'm saying. An agent that has your back should try to bring everything forth in front of the client so they can make the decision whether they want to move forward with the property or not.
Exactly.
But you got to have somebody that's aggressive. You have to have an agent that's aggressive that's going to ask the right questions and get the right kinds of inspections and go a little bit beyond. Just this last escrow, the listing agent asked me why I was doing a main drain line inspection. And she's like, do you do that on all the properties? And I was like, well, I do it on every detached home property because if something does go wrong with that main drain, you're going to have a big time issues that are not cheap. You might as well know off the bat if there's either roots intrusion, if there's cracks, if there's low spots, if it's cast iron in there, if it's PVC, any of that kind of stuff. At least you have the information before you release your contingencies, before you release any kind of money or even close escrow. Like, it's better to know everything about the property up front and then make the decision if you want to move forward than surprise, oh, the drain needs to be fixed 3 months down the line, or there's a
Look,
cracked slab, or that kind of stuff.
and then this is on the record, I will never tell or advocate my client to remove their inspection contingency. Like, that is just, people were doing that during COVID just to get the house. And I don't care how much money you have or how much you want the house. There are some things, like, let's say there's foundation issues. Hopefully not. But foundation issues is not only very expensive, but it's very time consuming. And so many things can happen, and time is money. And to the people that were like removing inspection contingencies and not wanting to even forego an inspection because sometimes they think that, oh, I don't need inspection, it's just going to cost me money, you should rather pay that money up front versus losing your whole house down the line. It's just,
Well, even if you remove your contingency, your inspection contingency, you should still get a thorough inspection regardless. Just because you remove it doesn't mean you shouldn't perform or shouldn't do it. Putting yourself at risk for sure.
if you have all the money in the world, sure, but I still would not advocate for it. It just doesn't make sense to me. The last 2-3 years, when there's bidding wars and people's emotions are high and they know that there's like 3-4 people wanting the same house, their animal brain is like, I want it, I don't care. It's like an emotional trophy for them versus like them actually wanting the house. It's like bragging rights.
It's crazy. Unfortunately, I feel like that's going to be coming again. Buckle up.
I'm excited, but I'm also swamped with a lot of things. More and more agents are going out and doing open houses. And there's definitely more people out there that are coming to the reality of maybe I shouldn't be so focused on rates, right? They should just be like, what situation am I in? Can I keep affording this? And that's all that matters. Go get your life figured out.
Do it.
Not financial advice, but I can't say anymore.
I don't know.
We could just keep telling people like, do it, buy the house, but then we wouldn't have a podcast.
I know, right?
Talk about I want to hear about your crazy real estate stories. You got any?
I was showing a house to a client. I don't want to say it was kind of in the hood or anything, but it wasn't the nicest neighborhood. Renovated. Some investors got into it. Mind you, I'm walking through the house at the same time as like turning the lights on with the clients. So the clients are right behind me. I'm turning the lights on. We're all kind of just walking in the house.
Oh,
I get to the master bathroom, turn on the lights, and I look down, and there was like multiple used condoms on the floor. The house was staged. The bed in the master bedroom was like all messed up. I don't know who it was, or I don't know, man, but they left it dirt. They left
you think
it
it was
dirt.
stagers?
It could be another agent. It could be, I don't know, man. It could be the cleaners.
Yeah,
Who else gets into the house before? I don't know.
That's crazy.
It's all
Do
about
you?
that client-agent relationship.
All right, podcast over. All right. Now, did you tell the listing agent, or like what happened?
No, I think I did call. I did call the agent and I let them know.
My buyers, I would not buy the house. That's just, I don't want to see that.
But it was kind of funny. I was kind of like, I wouldn't say embarrassing, but just kind of like, wow, like someone did this. One thing to do is, another thing to like, just leave your mess.
They
For
just
the
didn't.
person.
They didn't care. It's just, that's weird. That's weird.
I
That
guess
is
they
a
can
pretty
go on
crazy
to the
story.
lockbox. They can go onto the lockbox logs and see what was in there last.
That's smart. That's good.
I said it doesn't always have to be the agent. It could have been cleaners. It could have been, who knows? It could have been a lot of people.
There's cameras in a lot of these houses nowadays, especially like voice recording. Hopefully there was no recording there. Or I don't know what their intention was. I have no idea
I
what
don't
their
think
intention
so.
was.
I don't think this house had any kind of recorded in it. It was, I wouldn't say it was like the best house in the on the block or anything, or like one of those mid-grade flips. You know.
Oh, I did an open house. It was like last year. I did an open house. And it was like this area that was like up and coming still. But this house was probably listed at like 1.1, 1.2. And that's the thing. I think it's not, sometimes it's not the agents that are trying to list it very aggressively. Sometimes sellers don't want to list it any much belower than what they have in mind. I personally just wouldn't take a listing if it was overpriced because that's like wasting everybody's time. Like some people will have.
You got to go in there with having some kind of proof. Hey, this is what it's most likely worth.
Right.
This is what we could most likely get for it.
Right.
In this kind of market, there's a lot of factors that
but
go
that's
into
the thing. Like
putting a price out there on a property, not just doing what the seller thinks is the best price, because sellers always think that what they own is way nicer than what it is in reality.
And I totally empathize with them because there's a lot of emotional attachment there. There's like childhood or like they have family in there before and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, if they are really in the market to sell, then they would market it competitively or to the right price. That's why you see so many listings on the market for days, weeks, months, and you see there's 5, 6, 7 price decreases. So that's very hurtful to the listing, honestly. But this particular open house that I did, after it, sometimes I walk around the neighborhood and I think it was like 3 p.m. I get back into my car. There's a person on drugs.
Love note?
No, there's like a person on drugs on the street, broad daylight. And I'm like, I don't know what neighborhood I'm in, but it's definitely going to scare away people. But it was listed at $1 million and stuff like that. It's just, that's what happens. That's what happens sometimes. Up and coming areas. Up and coming areas.
AKA probably not the best neighborhoods yet.
And that's the reality. There's real estate lingo, right? We're trying to obviously sell the house, but if a place says up and coming, just know what you're in for. Don't be
scared. If they say cozy, it means that it's small. Cozy means small. Up and coming means ghetto. What else?
Quaint, cozy.
Pride of ownership. That's probably going to end up having a lot of quirks to it. A lot of DIY stuff. There's all kinds of real estate lingo that we try to make it sound better than it really is.
We're advocating for the listing or for the seller, then it is in our best interest to like help them sell. But obviously, as a buyer's agent, you have to also advocate for your buyer and tell them what's up. Jay and I will tell you like it is. We're not afraid.
I've walked in and out of properties before just based on opening the front door. Walk in, scan the room, be like, no. And my clients are like, no. We don't even need to look at the backyard. We don't even need to go upstairs. We don't need to go in the kitchen. We don't need to spend 30, 40 minutes at this property if first impressions of what you walk through the front door is bad.
Nope. Really big.
I don't care how big the pool is in the back.
Turn around like, oh, we're done. We don't have to look at it anymore. And then sometimes like the listing agent will text you and be like, hey, like how'd it go? Or whatever. We're like, we just left. They're like, oh, it's so quick. We're like, yeah, we just no.
Like, sorry, but not sorry.
The thing is, if a house is not up to standard and it doesn't look well, it doesn't look good, but the listing agent and the seller knows it, then don't price it so far up. You're not going to get a deal, especially in this market. And I think people nowadays are smarter. They're smarter to bring contractors before anything. They're smart enough to ask for second opinions from professionals. Really, listing agents should just be really blunt and straightforward with the sellers, and that would probably help the market.
It's competitive out there, even for listings. Even as a realtor, it's competitive to try to get listings and stuff like that because inventory is so low, and some people will say whatever they can to get a listing these days. And you're better off just being honest and telling the truth up front. That way, it saves you the time and energy later, and the headache, and possibly the letdown or the reconversation of why you have to renegotiate a price or discount asking price. But not everybody's like that.
Well, for the people that aren't real estate agents and like people that are thinking about selling their homes, maybe the majority of you guys know this, but your house listing is strongest the first 48 hours because that's when Zillow, whatever, all this MLS, like Redfin, they'll really
like all the
push it
syndication
out.
websites.
Right. Like they'll push it out to be like, oh, this is a new listing. And if you get really good traction, then that means you priced it well. And if you don't have any calls, you don't have any showings, that's probably a really good sign that like, hey, you priced it too high and do something about it. But
if you're
I don't know
looking to sell your home in 2024 and you're interviewing agents to sell your property, to list your property, one of the questions that you need to be asking them is, let me take a look at your past listings. And they should be able to pull them up on the MLS still. And if they have photos of unprofessional photos of them in the mirror, taking a photo with their iPhone, anything that looks unprofessional, just even the description they put on the MLS, that'll show you what kind of quality you're going to end up getting out there, and which will in turn give you an idea as to what kind of work they're going to be putting into your property to get it sold. If they're going to be taking crappy photos, if they're not going to be highlighting the best things about the property, if they're not creating a reason why people should be coming and looking at the property and painting that picture very, very well for a potential buyer, then move on to the next agent that will, because you're just wasting your time.
If you think about it from a buyer standpoint, your pictures are really the only things. Sometimes I don't even look fully at the description. Sometimes you can just get sold by the pictures, and then that's like when you want to go book a showing or just see it in person. But professional photos, and depending on the price point, maybe it's worth it to get it staged.
I've actually done virtual staging that worked very, very well for me, and it was so much cheaper than doing physical staging. And as long as you put that inside the confidential remarks or in the remarks, so this is virtually staged, and you show pictures of the room with and without the virtual staging, then you're fine, like you're good. But the virtual staging was really cool because we didn't have to worry about a timeline as to when the people were going to come in and out to take the furniture, and it was way cheaper, and people get the idea from photos as to what they can do to the property with the virtual staging too. So it does its job. I would say anybody that is looking to sell their home, ask their agent about virtual staging because you can save a ton of money and still get the same result. Tip number 2.
Tip number 2. We're full of tips. We're full of great ideas. Let's end it.
Thanks, y'all, for tuning in.
Thank you
Till
to
next time.
our 3 super fans out there.
Get to our anniversary. We'll treat our super fans who's been sticking with us since day one.
We should do that. I don't know what we would do, but if people hear about this clip enough, then we're gonna have a lot of super fans that we have to account for.
Yeah, that's
so
what I mean.
No promises.
Create a community of 2 agents, 1 cup.
Oh my god.
2 agents, 1 pod.
I'm cutting that. I am cutting that.
Peace.
Peace out. Bye.